Hey guys, it's Allison. It's been a really long time since I've filmed on this channel. I'm wearing a mic, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Hopefully it's not super echoey in here, but this is just going to be a face-to-face talking sort of video. It's been, I want to say, 4 years when I looked back at the last time that I posted a video on this channel. I would like to reinvigorate this channel again. So I want to kind of give a little bit of background. And it is really hard for me to show my face on camera. There's a lot of shame because I know, if there's people that have watched me years ago and maybe you were still subscribed and I'm popping up on your feed and maybe you click on this video, you're going to be like, oh, she looks a lot different. Aside from the hair, I went dark. I used to be a blonde, but I know, like, just in my face, I look much better than what I was, and that's hard for me. That's hard for me. But I want to give a little bit of background of what's been going on the past few years. Mental health has definitely been one of the bigger themes as to why I stop and start, stop and start. And, when I was on the journey of weight loss, having it on YouTube, kind of like a diary. It felt like a diary entry to me. So I felt like I was more consistent because I felt like I was coming to you guys. So let's start about 4 years ago. So the last video I touched upon the loss of my cat. So COVID happened, and during the thick of it, I lost my cat. He had been featured on this channel. Just a brief overview of that. I had some major depression over that. Not only did I have depression over COVID and how the world just suddenly changed. I mean, I could remember going into grocery stores when it first started happening in March of 2020, and there just not being any food on the shelves at all, not even peanut butter, not even bagel bites in the freezer section. Like, it was, so it was a lot of eating out at that time. And I know it was hard to grasp my brain around what was happening in the world at the time. I didn't understand it. I didn't recognize it at the time, but I definitely had depression. And then fast forward to my cat, who we lovingly called Kitty Boy, had a mass on his tail toward the base, or like the end of his tail. So he had surgery and had a large portion of his tail amputated. And they said, come back in 6 months, like we'll do a scan, but it doesn't look like it will, is that the word, metastasize? They didn't think it was the kind that would spread, essentially. It wasn't even 6 months, and suddenly his health took a drastic turn. He was not the same. He was shoving his head into walls. I don't know. So he loved to eat. I'll just say that. He loved to eat, and I could not get him to eat at the end. He was just doing very much what they say about cats is they're reclusive and they just try to hide. He was very much doing that, and he wasn't eating, and he was a large cat. He was about 21 or 22 pounds at the end of his life. Some of that was he just wasn't feeling good and moving around and that sort of thing, but it's really dangerous for a cat to just stop cold turkey eating, especially when they have weight on them. And I don't know, maybe something happened with that, but he was like shoving his head into walls and like he was just like wobbly and shaky. I don't want to post those, like a video that a vet sent me, because it's super hard to watch and graphic, and I don't want to relive that, but I definitely have access to that. So anyways, all of that to say, the COVID, his loss took a toll on me mentally, and I sunk into a depression. And granted, things got a little bit normal, quote unquote, throughout time with COVID, and things started opening up, but his loss hit me hard. Like, that was the cat that made me fall in love with cats all over again. I used to have cats growing up. I had not the best childhood growing up, but there's a lot of traumas and stuff I won't even get into with that. But needless to say, because of my childhood, I wasn't a fan of cats. So, anyways, like he was my gateway into my obsession with cats. um, so, anyways, all of that aside, I'll talk about even more of the mental of it. I was coping in ways. I was cope spending. I was digging myself deeper into debt. In the grand scheme, at some point I had paid off my car. That was a burden of a financial burden, honestly. So relieved to have that gone. But then I also had um, student loans and credit card debt. Like that, those two things alone were pretty manageable, but they got out of control. I was obsessed with this online boutique uh, called Anna Max. I still love them, but I haven't purchased in a while. But I was cope spending. Like, firstly, I was thinner back then, and I was feeling confident in my body and that sort of thing, and like I was getting really, really cute clothes, and I continued to spend and spend and spend and spend. So I racked up a lot of financial debt, which I have a channel called Authentically Allison. I'll link that if you are interested. But basically, I overhauled my life in that regard. Um, when it's all said and done with all of the debt that I had to my name, um, at the time it was around 30,000, and I probably got another 5, 6 in total $1,000 added on to that. So if you think about it, 36,000, and I'll talk a little bit more about that because this is all a part of my journey and how it relates back to the weight gain. So firstly, you take in the depression of my cat, the hard to cope with what's going on in the world, and you add in just a sudden halt to movement. I mean, things were shut down. You couldn't do anything. I could remember even being afraid to go outside the way things were hyped up, like being near people. So luckily, I was able to keep my job. That was one blessing in all of it. I was able to keep my job. But I became work from home, and I've been work from home ever since. Even at an office job, you don't realize just like the getting ready for the day and everything, you are getting movement, walking to your car, walking into the office, walking to breaks, walking to the bathroom at the facility. You actually have a decent amount of steps, just that alone. Granted, it's a very sedentary job, but that aspect of it. And then you suddenly go from that to no movement. Oh, and on top of it, the last day in office, I was carrying my stuff, like cleaning out my desk and stuff and carrying it to my car, and I fell down the stairs at work. So it was an ankle that I've sprained a ton of times in my childhood. And as you get older, it was explained like sprains just take longer and longer to heal, especially if you have a history of sprains. So that on top of it halted me. I was out of commission, like where I just was in pain and stuff for about like 2.5 months. So, anyways, back to what I was originally talking about. Sorry, I just have these floods of memories, and so I'm sorry if that's hard to follow. But, anyways, so my financial health got out of control. Um, and I wanted to focus on that. Like, I have a hard time putting a lot of focus in a bunch of different areas. It's just really hard for me. I tend to like hyper focus on one thing, get the thing done, and then move on to the next. When it comes to work, that's different. I can multitask and all of that, but when it comes to my own personal life, it can be a little bit overwhelming to do like major things all at the same time. So my budgeting channel will show me working on getting out of debt. As I film this, it is March 30th, and I am looking to be out of debt by my birthday, end of July of this year. In the midst of that, I added more debt. If you remember, I mentioned I added about another 5 to 6,000. So really, my debt totals were more like 36,000. So June of 2023, I felt called to make an eye appointment. I kept getting these coupons, and because I was budgeting, I was like, oh my God, a coupon. This is great. I can take care of something that I need to take care of and get a discount on it. Um, I was not a full-time glasses wearer. I just wore them at my desk. I'm wearing contacts currently. I made an appointment. It was like June 18th. As I'm on my way to that appointment, I got a hair in my eye from my cat Teddy, which I don't know if I've shared on this channel, just based on timelines and stuff. Maybe I have. I'm not sure. But so I'm rubbing my eye, trying to get the hair out, all the while my eye is getting irritated as I drive to the appointment. By the time I get there, it's a little puffy. She takes a look at it and gives me tissue. I get the hair out, but it's irritated, it's puffy, so we couldn't perform the eye exam. Um, so she's like, oh, like maybe in a few days, like it'll feel better. Just call me in a few days and we'll do it. So a few days goes by and I'm like, it's not feeling better. It's actually, I don't know, it's still very much irritated. She's like, oh, that's very strange. So basically, exactly a week after that, I go in and I see her again. My eye is still very irritated, but she's like, oh, this is so weird. Like it would be cleared up by now. Like, so, but let's just go ahead and do the eye exam. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like, what can I do in the meantime with my eyes? And she's like, well, your eyes seem to lean on the dry side. So she was like, I recommend getting those artificial tears and just keep putting drops in your eyes, and maybe that will help your eye. So I was like, okay. So I leave the appointment, and now we're heading into like the July 4th weekend. My vision is just being strange. Like after that visit, I'm realizing I'm having a harder time seeing. So I see my family. It's like July 1st. The way it fell, I think July 4th maybe was a Monday, maybe. So we got together on the 1st, and as I'm there, my vision is closing in, and it's really scary. So like if this is your eyeball and you have the full range of vision, my vision was closing in. So like let's say this is your vision. My vision was closing in to where I could only see like that much. I hadn't seen my sister in a really long time, so we're talking, and it's like 1:30 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, all right, I gotta go because I don't know, my vision has been weird. I need to go to my eye doctor tomorrow. 'Cause in the meantime, since the last time I seen her, I made another appointment because I'm realizing like my vision is just there's something wrong with it. It's not normal. I'm having a harder time seeing. So okay, cool. So I go home and I go on the PA Turnpike, and around that time it starts to rain. Pretty heavy, but manageable, and it's dark. So I have astigmatism, and if you have astigmatism, you know that nighttime driving can already be difficult with like the light glare, like the glares of people's headlights, and then the rain coming down and the reflections and all of that. But it was way worse. Like I couldn't even see even more. And I remember driving and hitting the rumble strips, and I'm going so slow. The speed limit on the PA Turnpike is like 70 miles per hour, and I went down, what was it, like to 30, because I just could not see like the reflections. Like there's always like these weird beams of light with astigmatism, and it was like tenfold, like just beams of light, like with the light posts and everything when you're driving on the turnpike. It just weird light reflections everywhere, and the reflections of the rain, and it was really scary. It was just really hard to see. So what the hell was going on with my vision? This is so strange. So I go in that following day to see my eye doctor, and we're performing this test. I forget what it's called, but it's like this. Oh, firstly, she just does a visual check of my eyes. She's like, this is so weird. Like, the fact that you're having a harder time seeing. So she performs this like grid line test where I don't know, like I cover my eye, and she wants me to tell her if I can see like the upper part of the page, and I can't. And she's pointing to different things and I can't see. So basically, like, my vision closed in even further. Like, I could barely see out of my eye. So at first, the part that I couldn't see was like cloudy in this area. Um, but it became dark. Like, I just couldn't see up there. Um, and she's like, oh, and I was talking about antibiotics. I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe this is an infection, because she was like, this is just so strange. It doesn't make any sense. You don't have an eye infection, but yeah, like, I can give that to you. She's like, but wait, can I perform an eye dilation? I was like, yeah, like, do what you got to do. Like, I want to figure this out. So she does an eye dilation, and she is concerned. So she says the term, you have a line on your macula. And I don't know what that, like, a fine line on your macula. I don't know what that means. She's like, you need to get seen right away, with an eye disease specialist. And like that, hearing that was like, wait, what? An eye disease specialist? So I'm thinking I have like an eye disease or something. And she's like, unfortunately, there's a long waiting period to get in. She's like, it's 6+ months, but she's like, I personally know somebody in the practice. Will let me forward their information or your information over to them. They'll give you a call. So I got a call the next business day that they were open, and we're setting up an appointment, and it was for July 7th at this point. So, like, I'm doing my due diligence. I've gone to my eye doctor now 3 weeks in a row, and now I'm about to see this eye disease specialist. And the night before, like, I'm Googling up this term, line on macula, and I'm thinking I have maybe some rare eye disease or something. Like, I don't know what's going on. And so I go in, and he is like, I'm really sorry to share this news with you, but I have to book you for an emergency eye surgery. And I was like, wait, what? So I'm thinking it's just um, a disease or something, and like my vision's being strange. But he said, you have a detached retina. And he's like, it looks like it's been detached for a while. And like, in the moment, at the time, I didn't recognize, but in retrospect, I believe that was happening around that July 4th period of time is when it detached. My doctor never once told me you should go to the ER. She never told me what exactly it was. And maybe that's because she's not a specialist in that area. She just knows, like, line on macula is bad. I have, and it's one of those, like, in and out patient sort of things. Like, you're like an outpatient thing, I guess is what it's called, where you're in and you're out. Like, you don't do overnight stays or anything. But so it was a Friday when I had this appointment with my eye disease specialist, and he was like, you can go to the hospitals around here to do it, but honestly, I don't recommend doing that because they are really crappy around here. I think you'd be better care with, I have a friend that's in New Jersey that is an eye disease specialist, and I think you would be more better suited with him. So I was like, okay. So I have my surgery that Monday, which is the July 10th. Have the surgery, the coming to part. I was so sick. I remember hearing, like, the staff saying, what? You gave her that much? Because I was in a lot of pain coming back from surgery, coming back from the anesthesia and everything. And they were like, what? You gave her that much? Like, I was so nauseous. You're not allowed to leave until you can eat or drink something. I was so nauseous. So eventually, like, it was supposed to be an in and out thing, and I was there for hours. And Joe was in Washington State at the time, my now fiance. He was at his brother's wedding, and I just had this, like, feeling like, don't go. It won't be a good idea. So I didn't go on that trip with him. And luckily, it ended up being a good thing that I didn't go, because all of this happened. And I wouldn't have been able to fly with a detached retina. So anyways, the recovery for this surgery that I have is 2 weeks minimum. And that's about the standard based on my research. Firstly, I got a I don't know how to say it, an eye buckle. Basically, it's the silicone. They surgically insert it and they get it underneath the muscle of your eyes, and basically it just holds your retina in place. And they did cryotherapy, which basically like they, I don't know, freeze down or something your like scar tissue or whatever. I don't know. I guess it helps hold things in place too. Um, so that's what I have. There's a lot of different procedures for retina detachments, but like a lot of people do the gas bubble, and I feel like I hear a lot of people having to get multiple surgeries um, because they don't always hold up. Now with the buckle, the when it works great, but there's like what was it? It was like an 80% chance of it working. So there was like this 20% chance that it wouldn't work because your body could reject this foreign object in your body. But luckily, things look good in my situation. So, anyways, all of that to say, and this was part of the mental health aspect. Um, so as I'm recovering, I don't have, firstly, I gained back full vision of my eye. So it used to be closed in, and that's because the retina physically detached. And when they put it back together, I had full use of the eye again, but my vision wasn't improving. Um, and they say like it could technically take up to 2 years, but basically mostly after a few weeks after you come out of the surgery is like where you mostly are going to be likely sitting at for your vision. So, I'm going to all these like appointments with follow up with now my guy back in Pennsylvania, the guy that diagnosed me with the retina detachment, because it would just be too much travel to go to the guy in Jersey. So by this point, I'm still on leave because my job, I'm at a desk and looking at a computer, and I have to look at numbers and I have to input them accurately. And I could not see like the glare of the screen. Like basically, I've become more sensitive to light. I was already sensitive from astigmatism, but now everything's like tenfold more, more sensitivity with that. So fast forward to October. No, actually, it was September. Um, Around the time where I was getting cleared finally, they were like, okay, it's been X amount of days since surgery. You're now cleared to have your eyes checked and see where you sit. You are legally blind. So I am now a full-time glasses wearer where I only wore them in front of the computer just so I could see a little more clearly. Wearing contacts right now. So yeah, that was a hard pill to swallow. Um, my life completely changed. I had to relearn how to drive. I was very dependent on Joe for months to get around, like even the grocery store, constantly bumping into things, more accident prone, constantly tripping. Because after surgery, which is July, up until almost the end of September, I'm not wearing glasses at all. Like, so I'm just, I, I cannot see because like when your one eye is way off balance and you don't have it corrected, it just makes everything more difficult to see. So yeah, I had to relearn how to drive because of like depth perception and everything and getting used to my new normal. So definitely didn't realize the mentality aspect of going through that. I was depressed from that. So from COVID all the way through, I definitely gained a lot of weight. This whole story is to say, like, mental health has been the forefront of everything. Gained a lot of weight. Probably since the last time I used to film on this channel, I'm guesstimating because it wasn't very clear where I last left off. I probably gained like 50 pounds. So I would like to go back on this weight loss journey and document it and put it here. Hopefully people can relate to my story. I mean, I know like the whole vision thing isn't like a normal thing that people go through. At the time, I was 36 when the retina detached, which is very also abnormal. And to note, retina detachments. It was not from the hair. I do want to mention that. My eye doctor and the specialist both said no, like it would not be from a hair or an irritation or anything like that. It's usually family history of that happening or super major eye trauma. The type of trauma we're talking, like getting your face slammed into a wall, like where your eye is hitting the wall. That sort of trauma, not because you were poking around a hair in your eye. So, oh, and to add, I have signs in my good eye, so it is something that we have to keep a close eye on. I guess, like when they dilate your eyes and they look and they see there's there's like stretch marks and stuff that they can kind of tell, and I'm assuming that means it's because like your retina maybe is slowly trying to pull away from the eyeball, maybe. And maybe that just is causing these stretch marks. So it's one of those things where it is preventable. Most people that have detachments and get treated don't go legally blind. A lot of people gain full use of their eye back. This is one thing to note too, is that time is of the essence when you have a detachment, which it was not made clear to me what was going on with my eye. So had I known, I probably would have just gone to emergency. But the retina, if it loses oxygen for too long, it's basically like how humans are. If we go with oxygen too long, we die. It's the same thing. So that was really disheartening and upsetting to go through all of that. So fast forward to now. Now that I'm on the tail end of my debt journey, I would like to get back on the horse and lose weight. And this video is already super long as it is, but maybe I'll do another video kind of explaining even my history on this channel. Looking back, I recognize that I did not have the most healthy habits. So that's a whole topic in itself. And I feel like a lot of us get trapped into the unhealthy ways that we lose weight, not realizing it, but because we're looking at these tools that we think like, oh, this calculator is telling me I need to consume this, so let me do that. So I will go into a whole other video on that to explain not only was depression a big driver in the weight gain, but my body was fighting against me too, and it was because of past habits. So I hope that you stick around. Subscribe if you haven't, if you want to follow my journey. I did briefly mention I am now engaged. Joe proposed back November 2024, and I'll be out of debt in July, but he just started a job and he would like to be out of debt as well. Ideally before we get married, because I mean, he knows that I've worked really hard to get out of debt, and we will be combining finances when we get married, and he doesn't want to put his burden on me, or I'm using my income to get him out of debt. Like, it was a mess he created, and he wants to get himself out of it, which I admire. So yeah, subscribe and comment down below, and if you used to watch my channel in the past and you are here coming back, say hello, let me know. It would be great to talk to you guys in the comments and kind of get to know everybody again. So thanks for watching and allowing me to open up and be vulnerable with you guys. Bye.